Hey, what's up everyone? Jamie here, and it's What the Tech Wednesday, where we talk about the latest in consumer technology, computers, the internet, mobile phones, web apps, and everything in between. And this week is Laptop Week. Well, it's nothing official, but we have some interesting and innovative new laptops from Apple, Microsoft, and Lenovo, plus a very useful tutorial on how to easily clean your laptop, old or new. Links to all of the videos featured are in the description below. It's What the Tech's first ever Laptop Week. Let's get into it. With Apple updating the MacBook Air and releasing the new 16-inch MacBook Pro with an updated keyboard, we knew it was only a matter of time before the 13-inch MacBook Pro got the same treatment. Here's Dana Wollman, executive editor with Engadget, with her review of what will most likely be the most popular MacBook of 2020.
As you'd expect, a MacBook Pro refresh also means updated processors. 13-inch Pro now comes with a 10th gen Intel CPU and Intel Iris Plus graphics, at least in the higher-end models like the one Apple sent me for review. Also, the entry-level config now comes with double the storage, that's 256 gigs. Meanwhile, the high-end ones start with 16 gigs of RAM instead of 8, and there's a 32 gig upgrade option for the first time. As before, the 13-inch Pro starts at $1299, and it's available now. For this review, I'm mainly going to focus on performance and the typing experience. Spoiler alert, it's pretty great. If you've seen my review of the 2020 MacBook Air or my hands-on with last year's 16-inch MacBook Pro, you already know my thoughts on the Magic Keyboard's design. Feel free to skip ahead if you've heard all this before. For those just joining us, the Magic Keyboard was inspired by the standalone Magic Keyboard that ships with the iMac line. That's to say, both have scissor-style keycaps as opposed to the butterfly design used over the past few years. That butterfly mechanism was designed to reduce key wobble, but in practice, it resulted in flat buttons that too often either failed to register presses or, conversely, produced double presses, which is super annoying, let me tell you. In contrast, the keys here are cushier with a full millimeter of travel. We're not talking a full return to the pre-butterfly MacBook Pro keyboards that some of you have been missing, but they are noticeably deeper than the keys on the last-gen model. On the other hand, the new keys also aren't as wobbly as those long-ago ones we all remember so fondly now. This is due to two things: a rubber dome that sits just below the keycap and a design that locks the scissor mechanism into the keycap at the top of the stroke. Last note on the keyboard, like the other Macs with Magic Keyboards, this one has an inverted T arrow button layout where the right and left buttons aren't quite as tall as the up and down button stack, in theory making them easier to find by feel. I've mostly enjoyed this layout on the new Macs I've tested, though for the first time during this most recent round, I accidentally pressed the / buttons a few times when I meant to hit the left arrow. Otherwise, this is the same design as before, from the aluminum chassis to the port selection, which by the way includes a headphone jack and 4 Thunderbolt 3 sockets, 2 on each side. There's also the same stereo speakers as last time, the same 3-array mic, and the same 720p webcam, which served me adequately enough in my never-ending stream of work-from-home meetings. The touch bar is back too, as is the Touch ID fingerprint sensor in the upper right corner of the keyboard deck. As ever, it's easy to set up and works reliably too. As for the touch bar, I still wish it weren't there, but I've made peace with it. Mostly, anyway. The 13-inch MacBook Pro is, well, still a 13-inch MacBook Pro. As before, it has a 13.3-inch Retina display with 2560 by 1600 resolution and Apple's auto-adjusting True Tone color technology. As before, the screen supports the P3 color gamut and has a 500 nit brightness rating. That came in handy when I was working near the window on a sunny day, though I also found myself cranking up the brightness in the Apple Arcade game Sayonara Wild Hearts just because I could. The game's neon colors and deep blacks lend themselves really well to the panel here, by the way. All of this is to say, it is a nice screen. My only concern is that if someone buys the 13-inch Pro now, only for Apple to come out with a more drastically redesigned MacBook Pro later, maybe one with a rumored 14-inch screen, that person might feel cheated. Then again, one never knows exactly what Apple is going to do. As with the new MacBook Air, Apple partially upgraded the 13-inch Pro line with 10th generation Intel processors. That's Intel's 10nm Ice Lake chips, to be exact. Though the 13-inch MacBook Pro starts at $1299, the model I tested was a $1799 configuration with a 2 GHz quad-core Core i5 processor, Intel Iris Plus graphics, a 512GB SSD, and 16 gigs of RAM. It's important to note that while all configs have quad-core processors, the two lower-end ones, which cost $1299 and $1499, use 8th gen chips, not 10th gen. They also come with 8 gigs of memory, not 16, and the speed of the RAM is slower too. In other words, even if the $1299 or $1499 configuration is likely to be just fine for you, you'll need to test at least the $1799 model to enjoy what Apple is touting as new performance. When it comes to battery life, Apple promises up to 10 hours each of wireless web usage and Apple TV video playback, the same claims it made with the last gen model. In our standard video rundown test, my machine managed 11 hours and 33 minutes. Not the 13 hours or more you can expect from competing machines like the Galaxy Book Flex or the Dell XPS 13, but still pretty good. Speaking of the Flex and XPS 13, here's what we think you'll be cross-shopping, or should be, if you're considering shelling out $1299 plus for the new 13-inch MacBook Pro. First up, the newly announced Microsoft Surface Book 3, which starts at $1,600. The starting price on the 13.5-inch model is higher than the entry-level 13-inch Pro, but if it's 10th gen Intel processor you're after, Microsoft undercuts Apple by $200. The Surface Book 3 also touts longer battery life, up to 15.5 hours according to Microsoft. And importantly, the Surface Book 3 is available with optional discrete NVIDIA graphics. In exchange for those extra features and longer battery life, though, you'll have to deal with slightly more heft, which makes sense. You should also consider Microsoft Surface Laptop 3, which starts at $1,000. Whereas Microsoft Surface Book has a removable touchscreen, the Surface Laptop line is more of a conventional laptop. Like the MacBook Pro, the 13.5-inch Surface has Intel Iris Plus graphics and 10th gen Intel processors, and it delivers around 11.5 hours of battery life, though Microsoft's line doesn't bother with 8th gen chips at the lower end. And as a bonus, it is lighter than the 13-inch Pro. I saved the best for last. You definitely want to look at the Dell XPS 13, which starts at $1299 for the newest model, the same price as the 13-inch Pro. For the money, you get a 10th gen Intel processor, not an 8th gen chip, though you need to step up to the $1,549 model to get Intel Iris Plus graphics, but that's still less expensive than Apple's cheapest Iris Plus MacBook Pro. It's also much lighter than the 13-inch Pro, and it beats it out on battery life too, nearly 16 hours in our tests. We actually even used the P word in our review. Perfect. The new 13-inch MacBook Pro addresses one of our biggest complaints with the last gen model, the frustrating typing experience. Now it's that much easier to recommend with the Retina display, speakers, touchpad, battery life, and overall performance rounding out the mix. The case for choosing the 13-inch Pro over a competing Windows machine will be tougher, at least for someone who's open to using either OS. Other machines offer some combination of lighter weight, longer battery life, discrete graphics, or better specs for the money. For shoppers who have been holding out for a new MacBook Pro with a better keyboard, you can upgrade now and feel confident you're making a good choice. For folks in the market for a portable machine with decent graphics and long battery life, the 13-inch MacBook Pro is just one of several strong options available right now.
Microsoft has a big conference called Build that's a couple of weeks away, but the company isn't saving its hardware news until then. It announced a slew of new Surface devices this week, and some of these products have been a long time coming. And Sherilyn from Engadget is here with the whole rundown of all the new products from Microsoft.
I like that in the case of the earbuds and the headphones, Microsoft was able to push prices down, offering them for $199 and $249 respectively. This means the Surface earbuds will be $50 less than what Microsoft said when they unveiled them in October, while the headphones will cost $100 less than the previous generation. With these prices, the company's audio products are better positioned to take on the competition from the likes of Google, Apple, Amazon, and Sony. It's also nice to see Microsoft update the Surface Go, giving it a slightly bigger screen and LTE connectivity while maintaining the little tablet's cute, compact dimensions. Now, we can't tell yet how it'll perform in real life, but it also has a slightly faster processor than its predecessor. It still starts at $399, though at that base level you're getting a slow Pentium Gold processor. For a more capable Core M3, you'll need to shell out at least $500. Throw in LTE and you're looking at $730. And that's not even counting the extra $100 to $120 you'll have to pay for the keyboard attachment. Geez, Microsoft! The questionable decisions don't end there. Microsoft also unveiled the long-awaited Surface Book 3 this week. It's a 13 or 15-inch detachable laptop that Microsoft says is the most powerful Surface laptop yet. The smaller version comes with Intel's quad-core i5 or i7 with Iris Plus integrated graphics and up to NVIDIA's GeForce 1660 Ti, which is fine for its size. I mean, Dell was able to squeeze a 6-core CPU into the dainty little XPS 13 last year, but Apple is still using quad-core CPUs in the 13-inch MacBook Pro, so we'll let Microsoft off here. In the 15-inch Book 3 though, you'll still be stuck with 4 cores. Sure, the graphics are very powerful, you can potentially upgrade to even the Quadro RTX 3000, but the quad-core CPU is embarrassing when compared to the competition. The MacBook Pro 16-inch, for example, comes with 6 or 8 core options, and the Dell XPS 15 has a 6-core configuration. One of the biggest reasons Microsoft is having processor trouble lies in the Surface Book's design. Since it's a detachable tablet, the device's processor has to be embedded behind the screen, so it can keep running even when apart from the keyboard. It also needs to house some battery for power, in addition to things like speakers and connectivity components. Meanwhile, the keyboard half is where the discrete GPU and more battery lies. Because of the limited space behind the display, Microsoft can't squeeze in a processor with more cores. Though the Surface Book 3's design is unique, it's disappointing that the company still hasn't figured out a way to squeeze a beefier processor in its 3rd generation. Plus, the entire proposition is flawed. Who's looking for a powerhouse machine in the form of a 15-inch tablet? The Book 3 would be so much better if Microsoft reimagined it as a convertible instead of a tablet attached to a keyboard, and then gave it better processors. It's just such a shame that it's been almost 3 years since the Book 2 launched in 2017, and now that it's here, the Book 3 is such a perplexing product. Yes, it's nice that we have an updated model, but given how much progress the competition has made since, the Book 3 might be hard to recommend. Of course, we'll have to wait till we can fully review it to know how it fares, but I'm not holding my breath.
Lenovo and Google have put together an inexpensive 10-inch Chrome device that's part mini laptop and part Android tablet, but it is all value, as you'll see in this review from CNET.
Hey there everyone, I just got this. This is the Lenovo IdeaPad Duet Chromebook. Let me just stop talking about it and get this thing open and show you what's in there. Basically a tablet with a 10.1 inch full HD screen. Yeah, let's just get that off, and nice blue-gray back there. Camera, there's your pogo pins for attaching the keyboard. No audio jack, so Bluetooth or USB-C. Anyway, let's see what else is in the box here. Lift that up. All right, so guessing this is the keyboard. And keyboard. All right, pogo pins on the bottom there, pogo pins there, and then we just, oh, look at that. And this appears to be the back cover. Oh, and that just snaps right into place too. So here you go. This has a built-in bendy part kickstand. So there you go, there's that. You just, ta-da! You got your full keyboard and touchpad, nice clicky pad, and let's finish off what's in the box and see what's in there. It does not have an audio jack. Lenovo includes a USB-C to 3.5 millimeter headphone jack there, and then you've got USB-C cable for charging, and let's see what's in the, and a USB-C, well, USB charger. And there you go, that's it. The only other thing in there is a quick start guide. So there you go. That's what's in the box. Anyway, now that we've talked about what this is and what's in the box, let's talk about what it can do. So, if you're familiar with small tablety 2-in-1s, you might think this is essentially a Chrome version of the first Microsoft Surface Go, and you're not wrong. Again, this is built around a 10.1 inch display with a 16:10 aspect ratio, so you have a bit more height for work. It's a nice display with a 400 nit brightness, which helps with the reflections off the screen a little bit. Snap on its keyboard and you're ready to work. The keyboard is not bad, but Lenovo cut down the size on the keys on the right side here, and of particular frustration for me is the apostrophe key, which I simply could not seem to hit and instead hit the enter key more often than not. With regular use, I might be able to overcome it, but who knows. Also, the keyboard's not backlit, which is not uncommon for cheaper Chromebooks, but still kind of a bummer. The small clickpad is good, however, if you tend to drag your palms like I do while typing, you can likely look forward to some cursor jumpiness and accidental text selection. It's just one more thing you'll have to adjust to. And because I'm sure someone out there cares, you can in fact use this on your lap. It's a bit of a balancing act, but the keyboard connection is strong and the kickstand supports it in enough positions to give you some flexibility. If you're working at home or the office, I'd take advantage of the USB-C port and get a dock to connect an external display, keyboard, and mouse. Using it side by side with the display as an extended desktop gives you a small screen to use as a communications device if you want to keep Slack or email or messages open or something else open, or you can use the Duet as a media player while you're working on the larger main display. Basically, while you're on the go, you have the small device to work on, but when you need extra space for long sessions, you have the option to connect to a display, mouse, and keyboard. Inside is a MediaTek 8-core processor, 4 gigs of memory, and either 64 or 128 gigs of storage. With no card slot for expansion and only $20 separating the two, you should probably go with the 128 gig version if you can. I was a little concerned about having only 4 gigs of memory in this thing. I used the COG System Viewer app to keep an eye on memory, and the Duet seemed to be using most of its memory most of the time, but performance only occasionally got laggy for a few seconds here and there, both on its own and when connected to an external display. But, otherwise it was fine. Gaming was fine on it too. Since you have access to the Google Play Store, I stuck to Android games for testing, but the Duet can be paired with Google's Stadia controller and service. Between the removable keyboard and kickstand, the Duet is easy to set up for gaming with a Bluetooth controller, and it's small and light enough to play handheld as well. Battery life seems to be in the ballpark of what Lenovo is promising, which is up to 10 hours. I haven't done any formal testing yet, but based on my usage, I could see it easily getting up to 8 hours. But that's all going to depend on your screen brightness and whatever it is you're doing. Moving on. Along with the USB-C port on the right, you've got the volume rocker and power button, and then moving to the top, you've got the far-field mics and stereo speakers. Combined with the 2-megapixel front-facing camera, they worked well for video chats, though my wife said I sounded a little bit tinny on her end. The mics can also be used for Google Assistant for doing important things like setting reminders and playing cat videos on YouTube. The speakers are not great. They're okay for casual use, but anything more than that and you'll want Bluetooth headphones or speakers. With the keyboard detached, you've got yourself a nice little tablet that weighs about 1.5 pounds or 670 grams with the back cover on. Google recently updated Chrome, the OS and browser, with a tablet mode and unique gestures. A long swipe up brings you to your home screen, a short swipe up brings up your pinned apps, swipe up and hold and you'll see all your open apps, and you can then drag one to split screen mode by dragging an app to the top or bottom and then another to the opposite side. A bar in the middle lets you resize each side. You can also go back to the last screen by swiping in from the left and page back and forth in the browser by swiping left and right. Between these updates and the Play Store access, this feels more like a mid-range Android tablet than other Chrome 2-in-1s I've tested. So that's a look at the Duet's features and some of what it can do. Now, Google updates Chrome OS every 6 weeks, and for this it'll continue to do that for the next 8 years. So the features you have today won't be the features you'll have tomorrow. After spending a little bit of time with it, I'd have to say as a main device, this is probably not going to get you very far. But as a secondary device, something to supplement another computer, just so that you have something to answer emails or surf the web and play some games, this is a great little device for that. Or if you need something that's super mobile that you can connect really fast to your mobile hotspot or whatever, or for tethering instantly, this is a great option for that. It's essentially a more accessible, more affordable version of the Google Pixel Slate, especially since it only carries a price tag of $300.
That is amazing value for a 10-inch laptop style computer with the included keyboard. For only $299 American, that translates to $399 Canadian. That is our big recommendation for a new product if you're looking for a second machine or something for the kids or even something for your parents. Alright, so now that you've got a laptop or you're happy with the one you already have, and because you're working from home more often like I am, or you're sharing your laptop with more people than usual, it's probably gonna get dirty sooner rather than later. And now is a good time to think about how to keep it clean.
Before we get started, there are going to be liquids involved in this process, so please power down your laptop and unplug it from the charger. Hopefully you're watching this video on your phone or another computer, or you've got a good memory. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you're looking for more tips like this one. At this stage, you probably don't have a removable battery anymore, but if you do, go ahead and take it out for now, just to be safe. Alright, first things first, let's clean the outside of the laptop. Mix a couple of drops of dishwashing liquid in a couple of cups of warm water. Some people swear by a particular brand of blue dish soap, but any will do. I like this green one because it smells like apples. Dip a lint-free cloth into your soapy water. Give it a good squeeze. Wring it all out. And then give your case a good rub down. Rinse out the cloth with clean water and wipe it down again. Use a dry cloth to wipe down the outside once you're done. You could also use this mixture on your laptop screen, but be careful. Try using a dry cloth first, especially a microfiber cloth. I have some from my eye doctor, but sometimes they come included with TVs or computers when you buy them. If that doesn't get all the gunk off, try your dish soap mixture again, but really try to wring out as much water as you can. And don't rub too hard. And like we did before, rinse out your soapy cloth, wring it out again, and wipe your display to remove any soap residue. Then take your dry cloth and wipe the display to remove any streaking. Now let's take a look at the keyboard, potentially the grossest part of the whole machine. The goal here is to avoid getting any liquid under the keys, or any more than already has. To start, give it a good shake over a trash can to get all the big pieces out. At this point, a lot of people would tell you to get a can of compressed air and give the keyboard a good blow. You could do that, but I prefer using something like this. This compressed air blower is super powerful, doesn't contain any chemicals, and can be used over and over again for a lot of things. Plus, the brush attachment can get in between the keys and any other little crevices. When you've given your keyboard a real good blow, dab one of your lint-free cloths in some isopropyl alcohol and give the tops of the keys a nice rub down. You might be tempted to use your soapy water here, but really you don't want any water getting inside. The alcohol will evaporate almost immediately. You can also use this technique on your desktop computer's keyboard too. And while you're there, it probably wouldn't hurt to give your mouse a quick wipe as well. Alright, let's go hunting for dust bunnies or any other debris hiding in your laptop's vents and ports. Grab your favorite air blowing device and point it right at the orifice of choice. Get the vents, the USB ports, and all the little nooks and crannies. If any of those little buggers refuse to come out, you can try to remove the laptop case, but consult the user manual before you do. And there you go. Hopefully your laptop's a lot less disgusting than it was before. Feel free to plug it in, turn it on, and resume watching Netflix while you're supposed to be working.
Alright, that will be everything for this week's What the Tech Wednesday. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer in an upcoming video, drop it down in the comments below. Stay safe everyone, and thanks for watching.